Meghan Markle just gave the internet something it has been begging for years, a rare, genuine, completely unfiltered glimpse into the very beginning of her love story with Prince Harry. And she did it in the most unexpected way possible instead of another polished interview or carefully staged. Photo Meghan jumped on one of the biggest viral trends sweeping social media right now, the 10 years ago reflection trend, where people look back at moments that changed their lives forever. But what Meghan shared sent royal fans into an absolute meltdown, because instead of red carpets, palace, balconies or royal engagements, she posted never before seen footage from 2016, the magical year when a Hollywood actress and a British prince quietly fell in love and unknowingly changed both of their lives forever. And for once, this didn't feel like PR, this felt real, no filters. No heavy production, no royal polish, just Meghan and Harry. Before the titles, before the pressure, before the chaos, the clips take us straight back to those early months, when everything was new, exciting, and still blissfully private, long before the world would attach their names together permanently, and long before the media storm that would eventually drive them out of royal life even existed. And that's exactly why fans are obsessed. Because what we're seeing here is something we almost never get from this couple. The footage shows them in casual settings, laughing, relaxed, completely comfortable with each other, no formal outfits, no stiff royal posture, just two people being young in love. And clearly smitten, you can see the chemistry instantly. The easy smiles, the way they look at each other, like the rest of the world, simply disappears. The kind of connection that reminds everyone why this love story captured hearts in the first place. And it hits even harder when you remember everything that came after, before the interviews, before the royal exit, before the documentaries, the lawsuits, the headlines, the endless speculation, before the pressure nearly crushed them. Back then there were no teams, no strategies, no narratives, just two people who met by chance and decided to take a risk on each other. But here's where this post gets really interesting, because the timing is not random. In recent months, rumours about their relationship have been reaching fever-pitch tabloids, questioning their marriage, whispers about tension, stories about distant speculation that trouble might be brewing behind closed doors. And right in the middle of all that, Meghan drops this quiet but powerful reminder of where it all began, of what they built, and of what still connects them by sharing these throwback moments now. Meghan is sending a very clear message without saying a single word, that their foundation is still strong, that the love that brought them together 10 years ago is still very much alive, and that no amount of outside noise, negative press, or constant scrutiny is going to rewrite their story for them. Because whatever people think about Meghan and Harry today, watching these clips makes one thing impossible to deny. This wasn't a fairy tale created by PR, this was real. And maybe in her own quiet way, Meghan just reminded the world of that. And if you want to stay updated on all the latest royal revelations, behind-the-scenes drama and exclusive footage, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Because this story is far from over now. Let's talk about this viral trend Meghan just jumped on. The 10 years ago trend has completely taken over social media, with people everywhere reflecting on where they were and what they were doing a decade ago. For most of us, that means old college photos, awkward hairstyles, first jobs, or the beginning of a relationship that changed everything. But for Meghan, looking back 10 years means revisiting the exact moment her entire life quietly shifted onto a completely different path. Back in 2016, Meghan Markle was still very much living her pre-royal life. She was starring on the hit legal drama Suits, living in Toronto, running her lifestyle blog, The Tig, building a career as an actress, influencer, and entrepreneur. She had no royal connections, no palace plans, and absolutely no idea that her future was about to collide with one of the most famous families in the world. All it took was one blind date. A mutual friend sets her up with a British prince. No expectations, no headlines, just two strangers meeting for the first time. And from that moment on, everything changed. Meanwhile, Prince Harry was deep into royal life, carrying out official engagements for the Queen, continuing his military-inspired charity work with the Invictus Games balancing duty, tradition, and the pressure of growing up in the world's most scrutinised family, and reportedly wondering if he would ever find someone who could truly understand what loving a royal actually meant, someone who could handle the attention, the restrictions, the sacrifice. Then he meets Meghan, and Suddenly, for the first time in years, things feel normal. The footage Meghan shared takes us right into those secret early months of their relationship, before announcements, before paparazzi, before royal statements, before the world even knew they existed as a couple. We see glimpses of their private courtship, the phase almost no royal relationship ever gets. Because let's be honest, royal romances rarely get to grow naturally the moment rumours start. The media usually swarms, every move analysed, every expression decoded, every interaction turned into a headline, but somehow Meghan and Harry managed to protect this tiny window of normalcy, flying back and forth across the Atlantic quiet weekends in London private time, in Toronto building something real, before the noise took over. And the unseen clips capture exactly that: two people completely smitten, relaxed, comfortable, laughing over simple moments that would soon become almost impossible. No security teams in the background, no royal schedules, no global pressure, just them. And there's something incredibly moving about watching it now. Because we know what they didn't know back then. They had no idea the storm that was coming, no idea how controversial their relationship would become, no idea how quickly the fairy tale would turn into one of the most dissected romances in modern royal history. They're blissfully unaware of the interviews, the backlash, the royal exit, the documentaries, the lawsuits, the family fractures, and that's what makes this footage so powerful. It captures the calm before everything changed, before love became political, before happiness became controversial, before every decision became a headline. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because Meghan and Harry almost never share moments. This personal we usually get controlled. Interviews, carefully chosen photos, highly produced documentaries. But this feels different. This feels like something that was never meant for the public until now. And that's why fans are reading so much into it. Because this isn't just nostalgia, it's a statement, a reminder of who they were before the world formed opinions about them, before the labels, before the narratives, before the sides were chosen. And maybe, just maybe, it's Meghan quietly telling the world, this is what our story really looked like, before you all tried to rewrite it. What makes this moment even more fascinating is just how rare it actually is. Because Meghan and Harry almost never share raw, unpolished moments from their private life. Ever since stepping back from royal duties and relocating to California, the couple has been incredibly strategic about what the public gets to see and how they choose to present themselves to the world. Almost everything we know about their lives now comes through carefully controlled channels, highly produced Netflix documentaries, polished podcast episodes, glossy magazine spreads, and perfectly styled photo shoots. Every frame intentional, every word chosen. Every moment designed to tell their story, but always on their terms, always curated, always managed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because when you're two of the most scrutinized people on the planet, control becomes survival. But that's exactly why this post feels so different. This wasn't a glossy production. This wasn't a formal announcement. This wasn't a scripted interview with talking points and messaging. This was spontaneous, personal, and noticeably less polished. And for the first time in a long time, it actually felt real. By jumping into the exact same viral trend that millions of ordinary people are participating in, Meghan does something very clever and very subtle. She quietly repositions herself not as a duchess, not as a public figure, not as a lightning rod for controversy, but as a regular person scrolling through old memories, looking back at photos, and feeling nostalgic about a moment that changed her life forever. And that relatability is incredibly powerful. Because for years now, one of the biggest criticisms aimed at Meghan has been that she feels distant, calculated, too controlled, too polished, too manufactured, and suddenly here she is doing exactly what everyone else is doing, looking back 10 years, sharing a memory, smiling at the past. And for a moment, she doesn't feel like a headline. She feels like someone you could actually recognise. Of course, let's be honest, nothing this high profile is ever truly accidental. Sharing this footage now is still a deliberate choice. At a very deliberate moment, but that's what makes it so smart. Because this isn't just nostalgia, this is strategy. For years now, tabloids have been obsessed with one question above all else: are Meghan and Harry in trouble? It's been a non-stop cycle of anonymous sources claiming the marriage is strange, stories about separate lives, whispers about emotional distance, and headlines predicting divorce every few Months like it's some kind of scheduled event anytime they're photographed apart, anytime they attend events separately, anytime they launch individual projects. Critics immediately spin it as proof that something is wrong behind closed doors, that the fairy tale is fading, that the cracks are showing, and the more successful they become individually, the louder those rumours get. But instead of denying it, instead of sending lawyers, instead of issuing stiff statements through palace-style representatives, Meghan does something far more effective. She doesn't argue, she doesn't defend. She doesn't confront, she simply shows she lets the footage speak by sharing intimate moments from the very beginning of their love story, paired with affectionate captions and warm context. She quietly dismantles the narrative without ever acknowledging it exists. No confrontation, no press release, no drama, just a gentle reminder that this relationship didn't start yesterday, that this bond didn't form under pressure, that this connection has roots, history and depth, and that it's still very much there. The message is subtle but unmistakable. The marriage you've been questioning, this is what it's built on. And that makes this footage even more meaningful when you remember what 2016 actually became. Because that year didn't just change their personal lives, it changed the course of modern royal history. Their relationship became public knowledge in October 2016 when the Sunday Express revealed that Prince Harry was dating an American actress. And almost overnight, everything exploded. Photographers camped outside Meghan's Toronto home. Paparazzi followed her everywhere. Tabloids started digging into her childhood, her family, her finances, her friendships, her past relationships, and very quickly her race. The coverage became relentless, aggressive, and in many cases openly racist, with headlines questioning where she came from, stories about whether she was suitable, and comment sections filled with abuse. The scrutiny was so intense that it crossed a line rarely seen in modern royal coverage, and Harry saw it all happening in real time. The woman he had quietly fallen in love with suddenly under attack from every direction, and that's when he did something almost unheard of. He broke royal protocol. He issued a public statement defending his girlfriend, condemning the media and calling out the abuse directly, something princes simply do not do, because royal tradition usually says one thing above all else: stay silent, never complain, never explain, never respond. But Harry couldn't, because this time it wasn't about reputation, it was about protection. And in that moment, everything about their relationship changed, because from that point on, it was no longer just a romance, it was a partnership, a united front, two people against a system that suddenly felt hostile. That instinct to protect Meghan, even if it meant defying tradition, has defined their relationship from the very beginning, and it's the same instinct that would later lead him to confront his family, challenge the institution, and ultimately walk away from royal life entirely. And when you look back at this unseen footage now, knowing everything that came after, it hits differently. You see two people completely absorbed in each other, still in that honeymoon phase, where the world feels kind, where love feels easy, where the future looks wide open and full of promise. They had no idea what was coming. No idea how controversial their love story would become. No idea how many enemies they would make. No idea how much they would have to sacrifice, fight, defend and endure. They had no idea that within just a few short years they would leave the UK, leave the royal institution, move across the world, become estranged from much of Harry's family, build new lives from scratch in California, and raise two children far from the country he was born to serve. If someone had told them that in 2016, would they have believed it? Probably not, because back then everything still felt simple, hopeful, and full of possibility. And that's exactly what this footage captures: a moment of innocence before palace politics, before media warfare, before family fractures, before lawsuits and documentaries and global debates, before the impossible choice between duty and love, before everything became complicated. And that's why fans are reacting so emotionally to this post, because for a long time now, Meghan and Harry haven't really been allowed to be seen as just people. They've become symbols, arguments, headlines, political debates. But this cuts through all of that. It reminds people of something very basic and very human. At the heart of all the controversy, all the division, all the opinions, there are simply two people who met by chance and fell in love. And for a brief, beautiful moment in 2016, before the world got involved, they were allowed to be exactly that.